about the actual feedback? Here, I'll pull it up maybe so that we can have a look at it together in the meantime, just in case. I'll show it to you. Let me go to, where's it? Right, let me share the screen. Here it is, Rukia. So I think you did a really good job, Rukia, with the note making. I think I was telling you, right? You did a really good job with the notes. Thank you for including those, by the way. Yeah, because it was part of the assignment actually, and I was glad to see that you included it, because I did want to see the notes that you took before you made the summary. So thank you for including those, because they gave me a good perspective of basically what you took from the paragraph that you read, right? Like the more important elements, and then I think they helped you with the summary. I feel when you wrote the summary. I think you did a really good job, like I said, with the fact that with the fact that you only wrote 2 sentences, which was what was required, instead of like going overboard and writing more sentences. So that was really good.
I wanted you to clarify for when starting sentences when paragraphing like this one.
Yeah,
When writing a summary, a good starting point is the logical consequence of the note that you will be drafting. So the question is, when you make note and you want to start the summary, is it
yes, that's.
necessary to start the main idea or you can paraphrase?
I mean, you should always be paraphrasing. That's the most important element.
Is it also necessary the coherency of the words?
So it depends. So there are some keywords. Yeah, some keywords that you cannot paraphrase, obviously. So there are some keywords that need to be there, like they need to be present in the summary, right? But then there is what I by paraphrasing, what we mean is that the general way that you put the sentence together is your own words. You know what I mean? So apart from a few keywords that you take from the reading, right? The rest, the way you've assembled the sentence, the rest of the words are actually your own. For example, like let's start from what you wrote. Like let's just have a look at the sentence that you wrote. So the gender literacy gap is high and requires immediate responses. Meanwhile, many refugees are moving to get chances for resettlement through passing different routes, leaving them in difficult situations characterized by prolonged displacement. Right? So this is your first sentence, which is I thought it was really good. I just made a few corrections in terms of grammar, but the sentence was really good. Yeah, because the keywords are there. Gender literacy gap, right? That was one of the keywords that you can't replace. Like that you can't paraphrase that. That needs to be there, and you did a good job with putting it there. So the gender literacy gap is high. That was in the reading, right? The fact that it's very high and requires immediate response. That wasn't that part there requires immediate response wasn't in the reading. That's you paraphrasing, but that's excellent paraphrasing, because in fact that's what the author wants to do. The author wants to put attention, right? Bring attention to this gap that the author feels that has not been addressed before, right, Rukia? So you did a really good job with understanding the intentions of the author. I think you did like your reading of the paragraph was great. Like you did an excellent job with that, because you paraphrased it really well. It requires immediate response. That's perfect. Meanwhile, and then you added that refugees are moving, so to get a chance for
Yeah,
resettlement.
in this summary writing, when also doing reflection, is there any difference?
There is between.
Because when I want to reflect on a certain article,
Uh-huh.
is it necessary I do note making and then I paraphrase and then I reflect, or they are different?
So generally speaking, Rukia, reflections are a little bit different from summaries. Now, a reflection can include can include a first few sentences of summary, just to give an idea of what the article is about, just like you did here. But generally speaking, a reflection involves you thinking about what you learned from the reading, what you what you what you took from it. So in a sense, it has a different goal, right? Like the goal of a reflection is to is to actually articulate what you personally took from the reading. So I like when reading this article, this is a point that stuck with me. This stuck with me because I was thinking about this other experience or this other thing I know, and you know, and so forth. That's a reflection. So the goal of a reflection is for you to think about what you took and learned from the reading personally, individually. The summary, on the other hand, a summary is in a few sentences, tell me what the article is about, which is a little less personal, right? You're trying to articulate and communicate what the author wanted to say, but you're trying to do that in less words, right? So you're trying to do that in much less words than what the author used, and you're trying to do that in your own words. Of course, when you to do a summary, you need to do a little bit of reflection too. You need to understand what you took from a reading. But when you write it, when you write a summary and when you write a reflection, they are different. Does that make sense, Rukia? Like, does this make sense? The difference between a reflection and a
Yeah,
summary.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. So what I meant, you said what I meant with the last paragraph here when I said when writing out the summary, a good starting point is the logical sequence of the notes, right, and how they relate. What I meant with that is that basically sometimes it's good to understand, like when you're taking notes instead of just taking them linearly. So the way you took the notes here, right, Rukia? This is like you wrote point one, point two, point three, point four, point five, point six, and so forth. So you listed, it's a list, right? It's a list of the main points that you encountered in the paragraph. They are in order because you obviously ordered them by when they appeared in the paragraph. So the first thing that appears is the rise in gender gap. And the second point is the female forced migrant. So the role of the role and position of the female forced migrant and so forth. And then you went in order, right? So what I was saying is that a good way to start a summary sometimes is to actually follow that same order, right? Like a good way to start it is like, okay, you take the order that you wrote your notes down, and you write out that order, right? But the one thing that might be missing sometimes when you have a list is what is missing sometimes is how all of these relate, how all of these ideas that the author presented us relate. And I will show you some ways to do that today. That's what we'll be doing in today's session. Yeah, I will be showing you some ways to take notes, to make notes that that show that help you show connections and conflicts between the ideas that are presented by authors in text. So what we're going to be doing today is actually we're going to look at longer texts. So not just a paragraph. Now we're going to be looking at 2 or 3 pages, right? And we're going to try to take notes of these 2 to 3 pages, and then arrange those notes in a way that can help us to summarize it. Does that make sense, Rukia? So that's what we're actually going to be doing right now. But before we did that,
Okay, okay.
before we did that, I just wanted to show you more or less my feedback again, and ask you if you had any questions. Basically, that's all. That's why I pulled this up. Um, but yeah, that's. I think you did that overall. You did a really good job, Rukia. I think, like, in terms of expressing and communicating what the paragraph was about. um, you picked really well. Like, you picked the main ideas to present really well. Um, you were asking me, like, if there's a best way, in a sense, if there's like a best practice when it comes to the first sentence of a summary, right? Rukia, you were asking me basically if there's anything that you should write in the first sentence of a summary, and generally speaking, the first sentence of a summary, a good suggestion would be to say what the article is about, or the paragraph is about, just like you did here. Like usually the first first sentence of a summary should say the article or the paragraph talks about this. I mean, the author of the paragraph is talking about this. They are interested in this because of these reasons. You see what I'm saying? So like that's usually typically in a summary that you want your topic to be the very first sentence, right? So what it is about. And I think you did that well, yeah, because you said in the first sentence you said that the gender literacy gap is high and requires immediate response. Done. That's your first sentence right there. That's what that in a nutshell. If you had to summarize in like in just one sentence, if you had to summarize that paragraph, that would be it. And you did. So you pinpointed it. You were really good, Rukia. Did a really good job with the summary, I think. Do you have any other questions with regards to the feedback, Rukia?
No, it is very clear.
Great. So I hope it helped, Rukia. I'm hoping these little exercises are helping you, in a sense. I hope they're helping you practice summary making and paraphrasing, because that's the point, right? That's the point, because you'll be doing a lot of this, Rukia, and this is why we're doing a lot of these exercises. So when you'll be writing your MRP, Rukia, you're going to be doing a section of your MRP that's called a literature review. Have you ever heard of that, Rukia? The literature review?
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what that is?
Huh? Pardon?
Sorry, I said when you'll be writing your MRP, Rukia, you'll be writing a section that's called literature review. And then I asked you, have you ever heard of a literature review? Do you know what a literature review is?
A literature review is you review and what do you want to discuss.
Yeah, but exactly. You review what you want to discuss. So basically what has been written about what your topic, right, Rukia? So you review what has already been written about your topic. And so to do that, tell me.
Do you mean the topic and my topic when writing the review, literature review? Do you mean like that?
What I mean, Rukia, is that later on when you'll be writing your MRP, right? You'll be choosing a topic, and then what you'll have to do is you'll have to do research on your topic, right? And so when you do research on your topic, you'll be reading a lot of articles, okay, like a lot of articles, because you'll need to read at least like 20, 25 articles to like, let's say at least 10, 15 articles to build your research, right, Rukia? You have to show that you've read other people's articles already, like what they've said about your topic and what's already been spoken about and so forth. So, and to do that, you'll need to read a lot and summarize, because in your literature review is actually just basically a summary, like a large summary of everything that you've read, right? So like, let's say you've read 20 articles, Rukia. Your literature review will be a large summary of basically all the smaller summaries of the articles that you've read. So that's why this exercise of summarizing and paraphrasing is so important. These exercises to practice it, because you'll be doing a lot of it for your MRP. Basically, that's why we're doing a lot of this.
Yeah, I'm getting. Yeah, I get well. It will help me to improve in writing my research paper.
Exactly.
Clearly.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I see.
When it comes to summary, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, some parts have larger pages. So those pages, initially you will come up with your notes and then you summarize and you
Correct.
paraphrase.
Correct, Rukia. Correct. Absolutely. That's correct. So I see
I think
Abuka.
how
Tell me, Rukia.
when starting those paper, will will there be any guideline we
There
will
will.
discuss when making those paper, because I think it requires some procedures to be followed in each part. Maybe the problem, the headline, everything composing the research paper. I think
Yes,
will be taken some time to discuss those areas.
absolutely, Rukia. You're absolutely correct. It does have guidelines, and we will be discussing guidelines in April and May when we get to the MRP. So after we've done quite a bit of practice, all these like exercises that we're doing in April and May, that's when we'll be actually presenting the guidelines and we will be discussing the guidelines to the MRP. Yeah.
Okay, in line with the research paper, I will also be requesting those when doing the referencing. It must also be remembered. It must
Yes.
also be factored in our learning lessons, like how to find out some topics from different authors through JSR, and how to make referencing in citation. Yeah,
Yep.
because it is things that should be remembered always. For me now,
Absolutely.
even now, I don't have more examples. Even you, as we are doing now, the with Easter, there could be a day that we need to be revising even citation with Easter and those other areas. It will be very easy because now we have understood very well. The discussion was very interesting, and actually it was learning lesson. I've learned a
That's
lot.
that's really really good, Rukia. I'm glad. And we will be doing a lot of citation and work as well. You're absolutely right when later on in the course. But for now, what we're focusing on is, like I was saying, is practicing summarizing and paraphrasing, because that's the main skill that you'll need um, for research work for now. I just wanted to say, Abukar, I see you joined as well. Good afternoon to you. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Micro, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing, Abukar?
Hello?
Abukar, can you hear me?
I'm fine, I'm fine. Can you hear me?
I can. I can hear you really well.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Great. Okay. Abukar,
Yeah,
so
it's okay, it's okay.
Abukar, so we're gonna
Yeah.
start now. We're gonna start basically by looking at a text. Okay. So we're gonna start by looking at a text, and we're gonna work together on reading it, taking notes, and then I'm gonna show you some ways, some strategies that can um, help make your notes better, like more connected between each other. Okay, so that's what we're doing today during our class, and then tomorrow you guys will be doing the same thing again. All of you will be doing the same thing again with Esther, and then you'll be assigned a few summaries to work on for the week. Okay, so that's just Rukia
Mhm.
already. I already told Rukia that, so I just wanted to make sure I told you that as well, Abukar. Okay.
That one is okay. Yeah, I have forgotten. It's well noted.
Okay. So I'm gonna start sharing. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna start sharing for both of you the screen, and then we'll continue from there. Give me 1 second, and then let me
Okay.
just open the. I'll just open the page, and we'll start reading together. All right. Can everyone hear? Sorry, hear. See what I see the text. Ruki and Abukar, can you guys see the text? Can both of you see the text that we have?
Yes, you can see.
Okay, perfect, Rukia. It's okay. So last week we read a paragraph together, and what we did is we took notes we took notes and summarized one single paragraph. Today, what we'll be doing is we're actually going to look at a longer text, right? We're gonna be looking at a longer text together, and then
Yeah, I can see. I can see.
That's great, Abukar. Thank you. Thank you. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at a longer text, and we're going to be trying to take notes together and summarize it. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll ask
Gary, Gary, assalamu
I'll ask. Okay. Uh, what I'll do is I'll ask one of you if any one of you, either Abukar or Rukia, if you want to start reading. Actually, before you start reading, sorry, let's do something else. Before you start reading, I wanted to show you something. So when you look at a text, right, when you look at a longer text, for example, this is an article that we've already read together, right? The theoretical status of the concept of race. So when you look at a text, when it's a longer text, so when it's not just a paragraph, Rukia, is there anything that you look at specifically? Like any key information that you would try to look at before you even begin to read? Like maybe like anything that has clues basically as to what the text is already about before you even begin to like read word by word. So if you're just surveying the text, right? If you're just skimming it quickly, if we just skimmed it quickly together. So we know, for example, it's about 9 pages. So it's quite a long text, right? We know it's 10 pages in total. So it's quite a long text already, much longer than the paragraph we did last week. But what do you look at when now that we're going through it quickly? Is there anything that stands out in terms of structure? And I mean, anyone can respond to this. Anyone, either Abuka or Rukia. So as I'm going through the text, right? Is there anything that stands out? Is there anything that you see that's different in a sense in the structure of the text? So, for example, in this case, what I might look at when I'm looking at this text, right? So I've been assigned this text to read. I'm looking through it quickly before I read it. So I skim through it, I survey it, right? And what happens is, what I see that's different is subtitles. Can you guys see the subtitles, Rukia? You see the subtitles too? So every section has a subtitle. So the text is actually divided in sections, right? So the author did a really good job of this, right? They actually labeled for us the various sections, right? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's usually a really good starting point. Do you tend to do that, Rukia, when you read like a longer text?
When summarizing a long text, you consider subtitles.
That's right. Yeah. That's a good starting point. That's a first tip in a sense, right? Like a first thing to do. So for example, we can see that there's quite a few subtitles. Actually, this article is very well structured in a sense because every section has been given a subtitle, right? And subtitles, what they do is they inform us as to how the author is building their argument, right? So they tell us that there's different subsections in the text, and these different subsections are speaking specifically to this one concept, right? So this specific subsection, for example, this one right here, is great because it has even smaller subsections inside it. It has subtitles, like smaller subtitles, even. So you'll see like it has one, two, another, and then another one here, two, and three smaller subtitles, right? There's a third one that I think I might have missed the third one because I know it has three. There it is, global context of race. So just by looking, for example, at the subtitles, we already have a sense of what the article is about. So we know it has an introduction. Of course, the introduction doesn't tell us much in terms of the actual content, but we know that what the author will do is the author will introduce his argument right here in the introduction. Then we know that the next subtitle is race as an ideological construct, right? So he will be speaking specifically to this topic, race as ideology. Then we know that in the next paragraph, he's going to be, sorry, in the next section, he will be talking about race as an objective condition. And then in the final section, he will be talking about toward a critical theory of the concept of race, right? And then specifically, there's three aspects that he considers of this critical theory: contemporary political relationships, the global context of race, right? And the emergence of racial time. Now, we can already map this out, really, right? We could already, if we were taking notes, what we could do is we could already write all of these subtitles out. Just write them out, and that way we could already organize the notes that we are making by subsection, right? So maybe we could do that. Maybe we can. What we can do is we can take a Word document. Here, I will open a Word document at the same time. Let's see if I can do that. Where is it? Okay, give me 1 second. So what we could do is we could actually write out already the various subtitles. Rukia, do you remember any of them by any chance? So we can write them out. So when writing my notes, what I would do is, for example, the first thing I would do is I would write out the various subsections, right? So I would write introduction, right? Then I might write, then I'll leave some space to write notes, obviously. In the next section, I would write race as an ideological construct. Then we would write race as objective condition. And then, let's see, what else did we have? Do you remember the other ones? Does anyone remember the other ones? Here we go. Toward the critical theory of the concept of race, right? Can you all see all see the whiteboard? Sorry, guys. And then you would have, and then obviously underneath here you would have the three smaller concepts in a sense, right, that are part of this. So you'll have you would have maybe we can give it a different color so that we remember that they're different. They are different in the hierarchy, right? So we had racial time, emergence of racial time. We had contemporary political relations. There you go. I remember the first one. And then we have the emergence of racial time. And then we had, let's see, the global politics, I think, right? The global context of race. That was the other one. Right? Can you all see this? So already just by looking at the subtitles now, right? That let's say these are my notes. I'm making my notes here, right? And for now, all I've done is I've written down the subtitles of the whole text, right? So just by looking at the notes that I've taken so far, which again are just the subtitles, what can you get from this already? Like what is the article about, first of all? Is it possible to understand what the article is already about just by looking at the subtitles? Rukia or Abukar or both of you, anyone?
The concept of race.
Absolutely, Rukia, right? It's quite clear, right? I mean, all the subtitles, Rukia, are exactly dedicated to race, right? You see race appearing in every single subtitle, right? Can you also get, Rukia? Do you also have an idea of how the author is developing his argument? Do you also, like, by looking at the subtitles, do you already have an idea of the logical flow of the text? Like, do you see, for example, different ways of thinking about race that the author is presenting, different ideas about race? For example, in the first subtitle, right, he says race as an ideological construct. So race as an ideology. Then he says race as objective condition, right? So basically race. So these are different things, right? Race as an ideology, race as objective. Then he says towards a critical theory of the concept of race. So towards usually gestures moving somewhere. So maybe he's moving somewhere else, right? He's proposing a different theory. And then these are three elements maybe that he's thinking about to develop this new theory, right? Of the concept of race. So what we can see that the author is telling us different ideas, like the author is communicating to us different ways of thinking about race, and then he's putting forward towards a new idea of thinking about race, right? And this is, so all of this we just get from just looking at the subtitles. Sometimes if the text has subtitles, by looking at subtitles, we can already get the general argument that the author is trying to build. Okay, now if we go back, I'm gonna close this for a second. Our whiteboard where we're taking notes, and we're gonna go back to the reading. Can you all see the reading again? I hope you can all see the reading again. So what we'll do is now we'll start by reading the introduction. actually, we'll start by reading. We'll start by reading this section: race as an ideological construct. And can I ask one of you to begin to read? So from the assertion that race. Either Rukia or Abukar, one of you who feels like starting to read, and wants to read maybe the first sentence. Abukar?
Can you share with us? Then I will start. I will read.
Is it not showing? Sorry guys. I'm sorry if it's not showing.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the story.
I said, can you share with us the screen so that I can read?
I will. Sorry about that, guy. I really thought it was. I thought it was showing. That's why.
I'm not seeing your screen.
Can you see it now?
Now. There.
Yes. You guys. Okay, great. Sorry about that, guys. I thought.
No,
it was...
still.
You have not seen.
Rukia, it's still not showing.
We are seeing race as ideological construct.
That's right.
Maybe
Yeah, that's correct. That's what we're reading, right?
Abukar, are you seeing?
Yeah, I can see. Let me start.
Yeah,
yeah, Abukar, go for it.
You can start.
Yeah, I can see. So can I start from the starting, or we start from the middle?
No, from the start.
Yeah, just to start.
From the start, Abukar,
okay.
The assertion.
Yes, race as an ideological construct. The assertion that race is an ideological construct understood in the sense of an illusion that explains other material relationships in distorted fashion seems highly problematic though today it is usually seen as a core tenet of conservative racial theory. Think of colorblindness, Conley 2000, and the main neo-constructive positions, Murray 1984, Thunderstorm and the Thunderstorm 1997, Glazer 1997, See also Wind 1997. As noted, this view is held across the political spectrum from right to left. For example, the prominent racial historian Barbara Fields takes this view in her 1990 article, Slavery, Race, and Ideology in the United States of America. Although Fields invites against various uses of the race concept, she directs her critical verbs most forcefully against historians who invoke race as a historical explanation. Fields, 1990, 101.
Thank you so much, Abukar. That's great. So that's the first paragraph. Rukia, could you read the second paragraph according to Fields?
According to Field, the concept of race arose to meet an ideological need. Its original effectiveness lie in its ability to reconcile freedom and slavery. The idea of a race provides the means of explaining slavery to people whose terrain was republic, founded on radical doctrines of liberty and natural right. Field 1990/114, close bracket. But Field says to argue that race, once framed as a category in thought, an ideological explanation for certain distinct types of social inequalities, takes on a life of its own. In social relationships, is to transform or revive an illusion into a reality. Such a position could be sustained. Types of social inequalities, text on a life of its own. In social relationships is to transform or revive an illusion into a reality. Such a position could be sustained. Nile, if race is defined as innate and the natural prejudice of color. Can I continue?
Yes, if you want to just read the quote as well, Rukia.
Since race is not genetically programmed, racial prejudice cannot be genetically programmed either, but must arise historically. The preferred solution is to suppose that having arisen historically, race then cease to be a historical phenomenon and become instead an externally matter of history, according to the perpetuous but widely repeated formula. It takes on a life of its own. In other words, once historically acquired, race become hereditary. The shop own metaphor thus offers camouflage for a later day reversion of Lamarckism. Field 101 emphasize original.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Rukia, and thank you, Abukar. So let's stop right here for the moment. Let's stop right here. We've already read a few paragraphs. Okay, so what are these first two paragraphs? So first of all, what do you think are the main ideas, the key ideas in this paragraph? Some of the key ideas that stand out. Any word that's repeated many times that you see. Anything that you've taken from these two paragraphs. Some ideas that you've taken from these two paragraphs. Either one of you, Rukia or Abukar, what are some ideas, some keywords that you've taken from these first two paragraphs?
We are getting the
Michael, are you
information
talking about the keywords or you're talking about
are you talking the understanding of this piece of paragraph?
These two paragraphs, yes, that's right. That's right, both Abukar and Rukia, yes. I'm talking about what understandings do you take from these two paragraphs after reading them?
Yes, let me start.
Yes, go for it, Abukar.
Yes, from my understanding, I have understood from this reading that the issue of race is an ideological construct. It is the way you perceive. So it's not a natural thing. Race, you know, it's a color, but this discrimination or isolation based on race is an ideological differences and the concept that you have, that you construct in your mind. So that is one of the things that I have gotten from this reading.
That's what. Yep, absolutely. Are there any specific points, Abukar, in the two paragraphs that speak to this directly? Any sentence or any part of sentences that speak to this directly, that you can pinpoint? You're like, oh, right there. That's where it says it.
Hello, can I continue?
Yes, you can continue, Rukia.
Yeah, according to this paragraph, feel agree that race, the idea of race is something that has been created within the society in order to have that power of acquiring resources within the community and create some kind of disruption of the social relationship. Maybe people are hungry for power, others are hungry for resources. So there is that essence of looking down people according to their economic status and political status. It's something that has been eluded from within the community, but it's not something that's genetic. All people are equal, and they have been created from the same Eve, Adam, and Hawa. So it is this superiority complex that certain people are creating.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, Rukia. So it's a social idea. What you got from it is that race is a social idea created in a community to justify inequalities, basically, right? Justify inequalities and to justify competition as well for resources. That's what you were saying, right, Rukia? So this is a way to basically justify the competition for resources. So those are really good points. Those are both really good points that you write. I wrote them here, as you can see. So I wrote both of your points basically that sort of summarize and that summarize the key points emerging from the paragraphs, right? Were there any words that you found difficult?
Okay, Micro.
Yes.
There's also another point that I got from the reading.
Go for it.
Yeah, we have seen race brought a lot of inequalities in the society because there are so many obstacles or racial prejudice that the people experience in the society. So those problems, you can say, brings a lot of inequality, discrimination, and isolation to a certain race.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Abukar, is that basically the racial prejudice that emerges from this concept of race, right, creates
Yeah.
a lot of inequality in society. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And is that do you see that anywhere specifically in the text? Like, can you pinpoint it for me where it says it in the text? Like, do you
Let me
see
check.
it?
Let me check. Yeah, there's this word. Invents against various uses of race concept.
Uh-huh. Invents. Let me see if where is it, Abukar? Can you tell me where it is in the text?
Yeah,
I
here.
will highlight it.
Yeah, it is here. Yeah, Fields invites against various uses of race concept. She directs her critical purpose most forcefully against historian. In that, yeah, Field invites.
Invites against various uses of the
Yeah,
race.
yeah, invite. Fields invites. Yeah, it's here. Yeah, yeah, you can.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Invoke race as a historical explanation. Uh-huh. Okay, so anything else? So yeah,
There's
please.
also another word here, the illusion, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Where is illusion?
The first line, huh? In the
There it
paragraph.
is. A sense of illusion. There, that's right. That's what I was looking for. So this actually this first line, Abukar, that you were telling me to underline.
Yeah.
Is actually a really good sentence, right? Because it tells us very quickly what race as an ideological construct is, right? The author says just the race is an ideological construct understood in the sense of an illusion that explains other material relationships in distorted fashion. And then he adds, seems highly problematic. So what does the author mean by that? What's the author saying? It seems highly problematic. So does he agree with race as an ideological construct, or does he not agree? What do you think?
The sense of illusion. Yeah, you know, the issue of race is an ideological construct. It is understood in the sense of illusion that explains other material relationships. This distorted fashion seem is highly problematic. According to my understanding, I think this is an ideological. It's not a real. So this mostly when things is ideological, it's normally an imaginative things. So imaginative things normally related to the mind and the feelings or the emotion of the person. So that's in that sense, it's an illusion. It's not a visible one. It's not tangible. So that's why it is or problematic.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
Rukia, tell me.
people misuse power. That is why they use wrongly. There is mismanagement of fund. Maybe that immaterial. And once power is misused, there is that disrupt of relationship, which is also a problem to the society.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, for sure, there's other issues too. So that, like, in a sense, you're saying it becomes problematic it becomes problematic because people then mismanage funds. That's what you're saying. So in the name of maybe of racial prejudice, perhaps that's what you're saying, Rukia, that maybe racial prejudice is used to create inequalities, and then that becomes highly problematic, basically. I think that's what I'm understanding from your point, and like from mismanagement of funds. Yeah. So obviously, what we're getting from this is that the author is alerting us to the fact that this seems to be highly problematic. This sense of an illusion that explains material relationships. Perhaps he's not fully convinced that race is just an ideological construct. And in fact, if we look at the subtitles in the next part of the text, we see that he's going through other ways of looking at race, right? And he's trying to put forward a new theory of race, a new way of looking at race, which is just not ideological construct. But in this specific paragraph, you are correct in the sense that he is putting forward the idea that race is an ideological construct and that it is not rooted in nature but perception. So all of what you said is very true, and that it's a social idea that has been created in a community to justify inequalities. So in this paragraph, you see the use. In this paragraph, we see that he mentions a lot of times fields, right? He says fields a lot of times, according to Fields, but Fields, etc. Who is Fields? Who is this Fields that he's referring to in these two paragraphs that we read? Do you know? Did you understand who Fields is? Because we saw that he mentions Fields a lot of times, right? Fields again. Look how many Fields. So who is Fields? Does he tell us anywhere in these two paragraphs who Fields is? Fields again.
Most forcefully against historian. Yeah. Micro, I can see this field is she's a, by the way, she's a lady.
Yes,
the way we
she's a
can
lady.
see,
That's right.
directed her critical paths most forcefully against historians who invoke. So we can see this is a lady who has an authority over others, because we can see she was she directed her critical paths most forcefully against historians who invoke praise as a national historical explanation. So this is a lady who is in authority, whether she's in a judicial field or in a police field. So that's the way I can see in the paragraph.
So you're saying that she's a lady because the author says she, right? So she's definitely a lady.
Yeah.
We know that much. You're right, Abukat. And you're saying that she probably commands some sort of authority, because I mean, just the fact that she's forcefully like criticizing historians. So obviously she has some sort of authority. You're right. But what kind of authority is it? What kind of authority is she? Rukia, do you think she's a policeman? Rukia, do you think she's a policeman?
No, she's one of the people who have a good a position, maybe authority over the domination of that country, and then she's against this race, because she says that race is something that people think, and that has been created within themselves. It's not something that has been genetically been created in the past time. It is something that has been eluded, and the idea of people. So she's against that. That is why she appears many times in the paragraph.
Correct. Yeah, she appears many times because she is someone that believes that race is ideological. That race is just a construct. It's just an idea, like you said, that's been created and been used to justify things. You're absolutely right, Rukia. That's why she appears many times in the reading. But if we look more, if we look more in detail, we actually see that the author has told us who Fields is right here. prominent radical historian Barbara Fields. So we know exactly who she is. She's Barbara Fields, and she's a prominent radical historian. So she's a historian. She's someone who writes about history, right? She's a scholar of history, and she's actually a Marxist scholar of history. So she writes about history from a very critical perspective. And so in the you both were saying, Abukan and Rukia, the author is using Barbara Fields to build his argument. And so because his argument in this section is about race as an ideological construct, so race as an idea that has been used to justify material reality. So the fact of material inequality, right? Poverty and extreme wealth, for example, right? Slavery and so forth. So because this is the argument that he's building here, he's relying a lot on Fields, on Barbara Fields, who is someone who's written a lot about this, right? So someone who espouses this idea of someone who supports this idea of race as an ideological construct. So he's putting forward the arguments that are made by Barbara Fields, who is a radical historian. Does that make sense? Does that make more sense? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
okay.
yeah, and so you can see, for example, that these are all citations, right? These are citations. Fields, 1990. Fields, 1990. Fields, 1990 again. So he's read a book. He's read a book by Barbara Fields, written by Barbara Fields, and he's paraphrasing. He's actually summarizing and paraphrasing, right? Someone else's work. So that's what he's doing. He's paraphrasing and summarizing the work of Barbara Fields and using it to build his argument. Does that make sense? So you both absolutely got it right. Like that's his argument in these two paragraphs. Race is an ideological construct. It's not rooted in nature. It's rooted in perception. It's a social idea that has been created to justify inequalities and the competition for resources and creates a lot of inequalities. However, Barbara Fields believes that that this so the fact that it's an ideological construct means that she is very critical of those authors of other authors, right? Fields, like Abukar was pointing out to this sentence here, and I think this is a really good sentence. Fields invades against you guys. Do you know, Rukia? Do you know what invades means? Have you ever heard this word before? So to invade against someone is to critique someone or to like go against someone, right? Like very very vocally, like to vocally critique someone. So she critiques all of those authors basically that use the race concept, right? All those historians who use the race concept and invoke race as a historical explanation. So she's against those authors, those other authors or historians, or in their same field, but think of race as a historical explanation for things, right? So she believes that because it's just an idea, it doesn't really, it has no materialness to it. It has no material consequences in a sense, right? It's just an idea, and because it's an idea, we can quickly do away with it, right? Because it's just a state of mind, because it's just a perception that people have, a wrong perception, she believes, right? A problematic perception. It's just something that people can simply do away with, remove. Does that make sense, Rukia?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So that sentence is also very important. So I think that's also something that we would have to add, right? So in between the comments, we would, maybe in between the notes, we would also add, for example, so Fields is critical of other historians, right? Of other historians who use race to explain historical events or phenomenons, right? Like things that happen, historical events, and so forth. So she believes that because it's just an idea, Rukia, then because it's just an idea, it cannot move history in a sense. Ideas don't move history according to Fields. It's just it's material reality that moves history, right? It's things that are actually happening. Like material inequalities, like slavery, all these things that we see, objective reality cannot be moved just by ideas. They're moved by objective things. For example, organization of the way that our society is organized in terms of labor, in terms of the way we work, the way that society is organized in terms of wealth. So who has most of the wealth, who has less of the wealth? Those are all objective realities, and those are objective elements that Fields believes that move history, right? So so far we've looked at a few paragraphs, and we've managed to sort of pin down a few of the main like the main points that the author is making here. So he's using Fields a lot, he's using Barbara Fields a lot, he's citing heavily, he's summarizing a lot of her arguments to build his own, right? And the arguments are the ones that you set forward. Now, so this is what we did last week too. However, because this is a longer text, right? It's no longer just a paragraph. If we have to start summarizing all of this, right? It might become difficult to just summarize based on everything all the concepts that we wrote there. Because this is just, we've only read so far 2 paragraphs of a whole text, and we already have 1, 2, 3, 4 comments there, right? So if we were to summarize this whole text, and a whole text should be summarized not more than in not more than a paragraph, so 4 to 5 sentences at the max. We already have quite a few sentences, and this is just 2 paragraphs out of the whole text. So how can we do that? How can we organize our notes in a way that's more helpful, in a sense, in a way that can help us summarize all of this stuff? So I'm going to show you guys now something that I want you to start using as or at least try out for this week. Some techniques to summarize, right? So I'll show you. So first of all, this one here. I'm going to show you this one. This is a good resource that you can use. I'm going to share it with all of you afterwards. I'm going to send it to you so you can maybe print a few copies or just use it. It's the PDF. Can you see this one, Rukia and Abukar? So this is a note-taking worksheet, right? So this is a place where you can take all the notes that you've written down, right? But while you were reading the paragraph or the text, and then you can take all those notes and organize them right here, right? So basically, you can organize them here. So you can say summary. Is there a central argument, viewpoint, or perspective, for example, right? And so you would go back to the notes that you've taken, right? You would go back to the notes that you've taken, and you would insert, in a sense, the comments that you've drawn, right? The various comments that you've drawn before. Remember the ones that we wrote on the side. So I'll go back again. I'll share again. Let's see. Can you guys see? Here, I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to put both things up so that you can see everything. So I would take, for example, from here, right? From the notes that we've taken together. So race is an ideological construct that is not rooted in nature, right? But in perception. And then I would transfer it to perhaps to my sheet, right? To my note-taking worksheet. So here is where I can sort of put all the key points that I've taken from it, and then this will help me sort of summarize, right? This will help me then draw a summary. You see what I mean? I hope you're I hope this is making sense, guys, and you're able to see what I'm doing. I don't know. I hope that the screen is actually showing. So see, I would put basically the key points there. I would put any key. Let's say I have let's say it raises questions. Let's say the article is raising any questions, right? So then I would put any questions that are raised in here. So for example, one of the questions that the author is raising is is race actually an ideological construct as argued by Fields, for example? You know what I mean? And then, sorry about that. And then I could slowly. This can help to build the summary, right? This can help putting all of these notes together, right, into one sheet, into one worksheet, can help me slowly see if there is um, a sort of flow to the arguments, and can help me pinpoint that flow and summarize it in a coherent way in my own words. So this is one option. This is one technique. So you can use a note-taking worksheet like these ones. But there's other ones too, which I think are quite good, and I wanted to show them to you. Have you guys ever used concept mapping?
No, no.
No, Rukia? Okay. So it's concept mapping is actually really good too for when you're trying to summarize, especially larger text. So this is what a concept mapping looks like. It's like this little graph you see the little graph there at the top. So that's basically how it looks like. So for example, you write the central topic at the center, right? You write the central topic up here. In this case, what would the central topic be of the of the text that we were reading? What was the central topic, you think?
Race as
Yes,
an ideological, yeah.
that's right. So race, right? So in this case, you would say race is for sure the main concept, the central concept of the text. And then what you do is you can make for yourself, you can draw, right? The like a graph. So for example, then you can in the next section, what you would do is you would actually say, okay, so from race, the first argument that the author tells us, the first idea that the that the author puts forward is what is the idea of, like you just said, Rukia, is the idea of um, race as an ideological construct, right? So that's the
Yeah.
first idea that he puts forward. So I'm gonna add a text box here, right? So obviously you can do this just at home even on a sheet of paper, right? You don't have to do it here on the computer. I'm just doing it here to show you, but you can just do it by hand on a sheet of paper. So these are called they're called concept mapping, and it helps to map like visually all the concepts. So all the concepts that are presented by the author, you are able to this way graphically present them, right? So you're like, okay, we had race. Race is a central topic. Then how does the author speak about race? Race as an ideological construct, right? Yeah, you just said that's right. He speaks of race as an ideological construct. So what does he say about race as an ideological construct? He says, so then we can, underneath here, we can add another little box, and we can say, well, and we can say, for example, well, he says that it's an illusion right? That justifies illusion that justifies material reality, or material inequalities, we would say, rather, right? As we were saying before. And who does he use to build this argument? He uses Fields, uses Barbara Fields, actually we would say uses historian Barbara Fields arguments, right, to illustrate this, right? And so then we could even go more in detail, and in fact, in the second paragraph, I don't know if you remember, but in the second paragraph, he didn't get that far, I think, but in the second paragraph, he also speaks about reconciling slavery and freedom. I think, yeah, you read that part, right? Remember? So the way, what this does is it helps you to construct basically all on one sheet, basically with like little circles and arrows. It helps you construct the way the text is built. So this way you can see what the main topic was, how the author speaks about that topic, and what he says specifically about that topic, right? And then let's say the author then presents another idea in the next paragraphs, because it's a long text, right? It's a longer text, so you'll have maybe 10, 15 paragraphs. So you, this way, the way what this does is it helps you to keep track of all the ideas that were put forward in the text. So then you would have, for example, let's say he puts forward another idea, right? And the other idea is, I can anticipate this because I mean I've already read the text, but obviously you might not remember this, but the other idea that he puts forward is race as, and it's a different idea, right? So it's a different idea from the one before. This is, the other idea is race as objective condition. Remember the subtitles? And now so this, yes, Rukia?
In this race as an objective condition, what does that, what has the author wanted to say?
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't get that far, obviously, Rukia.
Maybe
But
objective, yes, explain a bit.
yeah, what I can say is that the author uses he uses another set of authors to actually show, yeah, he tries to show how actually race has a meaning in everyday life. So for example, even though he's not saying that race exists, like in the sense that like in the way that like racist authors used to speak about it, right? But in the past, but he's saying that basically there's what he's using different authors to show how actually when people walk into a room, yeah, people will notice the difference in skin color, right? So there is something there. He doesn't know, he doesn't say that it's race in the same objective way as it was used before, but he does say that there is, we cannot just say that it's in our minds, right? Because there is something real to the different skin colors, right? Like different skin colors do exist. So obviously that shouldn't justify inequality, but what the author is saying is that, but it is something that we need to think about, right? Does that make sense, Rukia? So that's what he's arguing in this second part, in the second subtitle. But you can read on if you want. But basically, what I'm trying to do here is to show you guys that how you can organize a large text, like a very, very large text, into like a small diagram that can fit all the main ideas, all the notes that you've taken, right? All the notes that you've taken on the side of the text, maybe that you write out when you're reading. You highlight, you take notes, right? You do all of that. And then you take all these things and you can actually plot them and draw them into a concept map that can help you. Why this is important, Rukia and Abukar, because at the beginning of the session today we were talking about how it's important to find the logical connection between the different ideas presented by an author. So how these two ideas interlink, how they differ, how they contrast, how they build on each other, right? So this is an easy way. This is one of the easiest ways possibly of presenting that, of showing how ideas contrast, how the ideas link, and so forth. Because the way you do it is you make arrows, right? So for example, you make an arrow to show that race is an objective condition, race is an ideological construct. These are two different ideas of race, right? Both are speaking to race, but they're different ways of looking at race, of imagining race. And then underneath each, you have some of the main points of what the author is saying about that specific position. Does that make sense, Rukia and Abukar? Does like what this is a way?
Understand?
Rukia, tell me.
Yeah, I understand that initially we had making notes on small summary writing, and each paragraph was required maybe minimum one sentence. Now in this larger summary making, each paragraph or each context, I mean, how many sentences is required to produce?
So when you're summarizing a larger text, let's say 3 to 4 pages, Rukia, right? We're talking about 3 to 4 pages. Usually, like a paragraph is okay. So five to six sentences, 5 to 6 sentences to summarize like 3 to 4 pages. Let's say, not more than that though. Like 4 to 6. Let's say 4 to 6 sentences.
You said 5 pages, maybe 4 to 6 sentences.
Yes,
which is also correct. One paragraph.
Yeah, exactly, Rukia. Exactly. So that's what you're going to be working on this week, Rukia. You're going to be, and Abukar, you guys are going to be reading a longer text, right? A much longer text. And Esther is going to show you guys tomorrow, during the session tomorrow, some of the longer texts that you can pick from, right? The ones you can choose and the ones, and you can summarize. But what I would advise is that you start using concept mapping as a technique, as a strategy to help yourselves go from note taking to summary. Does that make sense, Rukia and Nabuka? I'll send you another example. What I'll do is later today, I'll send you another example of a concept mapping. Like I'll send you one of the ones I've made so that you can see what I mean. And you can see if it helps you. Okay? Because I think our session is over, because I think I see the next group is already here. So
yeah, we need to practice the concept mapping. Yeah. Yes,
that's correct, Ruki. I think it's a good approach to try to practice that, and we can talk more about.
Do we also have concept mapping in writing small summaries?
That's right. You can use concept mapping for writing small or larger summaries. It doesn't matter. Like concept mapping is useful anyways. I just think it becomes even more useful when you have longer text, right? When you have longer summaries, Rukia, it's even more useful, because it's very hard to keep a lot of notes on a long text and then find a way to put them all together. Concept mapping allows you to take all of these points and see how they link, how they connect, right?
Okay.
Okay, Rukia, I'm gonna have to. If you have any other questions for me about any other questions for me, and Abukar as well, if you have any other questions for me about concept mapping and the exercises, you can write them to me on WhatsApp chat, and I will get back to you. In the meantime,
okay, that's fine.
And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your comments and participation to both of you. Thank you for your reading, and we will talk later at a later time. I will write on WhatsApp chat the assignment again, like with some description of the assignments. Okay.
And also share with us this exercise.
Absolutely, I will. Absolutely, Rukia. Have a great day, both of you, both Abukar and Rukia, and I will ask you guys to leave if you can the session so that I can begin with group 3. All right?
Yeah, kindly.
Okay, thank you, Micro. Thank you.
You're welcome, Abukar. Thank you. Sorry, Rukia, you were saying?
Maybe you can urge to immediately process for me that issue for before the end of this month.
Inshallah, I really hope so. I hope by the end of this month is sorted, Rukia. I really, really hope so, because I mean, it shouldn't take that
Yeah,
long
because
to get it done.
at the end of the month, yeah, it's required.
Yeah, I agree. I told that, as I said, I told Hayun she's working on it. I will remind her again in a week. I will make sure to keep reminding her. Yeah, if she doesn't, if nothing happens, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for your facilitation and
Thank you so much, Rukia. Thank you, and Abukar. Thank you to both of you. Have a great rest
okay.
of the
Nice
day,
to meet
and
you again.
nice to see you too. Nice to see you again too. Have
Yes,
a great
yes,
evening.
Okay, bye
yes.
bye.
Bye,
Micro,
Rukia.
I want to ask you one question, huh?
Yes, tell me, Abukar.
When you are going to do the summary, are we going to do this format that you're giving to us, or you are going to do a whole, we write as a statement?
So you are going to be doing both, Abukar. You're going to be doing both. You're going to first do a concept mapping, right? And then you're going to take that concept map and write a summary with it. Help yourself write it will help you write the summary, like actual paragraph summary, like fully written paragraph summary. Does that make sense? So you're going to be doing
Yeah,
both.
please,
It's two
yes,
steps.
please work. Micro, what you do, just send for us the format the way we want us to do in the WhatsApp, because the one that you're telling us here, we could not get it because the connection was not good. We are going on and off.
Okay. Okay, Abukar, I've understood. I will send a template of the assignment so that you can have a
Do
look at
you have some assignment to do at the end of the tomorrow
Yes,
exercise?
yes, Rukia. So the assignment is to read a text, read a short text, which you will choose from. Esther will explain this tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah, Esther will
that's
explain the
good.
assignment tomorrow. So basically, it's you're gonna be taking a text, reading it, and then creating a concept map, and then a summary. So
That's good.
three steps: reading a text, create a concept map, write a summary. 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
But
very good.
Esther will explain it better tomorrow. Esther will explain it tomorrow when you meet with her. What the assignment
Okay,
is.
thank you.
No problem. Have a great evening. Take care, Rukia. Bye, Abukar. Take care,
Bye.
both of you. Okay. Omot, Mohammed, and Hassan, welcome to all three of you. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to. Okay. How are you all doing?
We are good, Mr. Mirko. Good evening. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. Good evening to all three of you.
Good afternoon to you.
Evening.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon
Sorry.
to you. Yeah, feel we're all fine.
It's nice to see you all. I just received, so I have received all of your I've received all of your presentations. So I'm gonna, if you have to give me just 1 more minute, what I'll do is I'll pause first of all the recording from before.